Hello everyone, this is Baka&Co, a show where we talk all things anime and manga, from news to previews and all our idiotic views. I'm Frankfurter, and with me is my co-host, Miracle Alleyway Magician Magically Average. Today we're going to talk about our favorite shows of 2022 and giving out awards to them. But before that, Magically Average, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year. Why am I doing dirty tricks in an alleyway?
You're a Alleyway Magician. You're like Billy Crystal and the Princess Bride, but in the alleyway.
Oh, I mean, I like Billy Crystal and the Princess Bride, but the
Yeah,
alleyway's just not, it's not necessary.
it's a little necessary, you little troll.
Ugh.
Anywho. But yeah, we've got a lot to discuss because 2022 is a stacked year. Let alone like just winter alone being stacked. I like the entirety of the year was pretty fucking. We were eating well. People who like the anime, or people who like anime and like, just, yeah, we were just eating. I can't think straight. This wasn't written. This
It's a
is
lot
just
to
me
handle.
this is just me just trying to off the cusp just make something sound great. But yeah, we've got two stories. Basically, our first story is going to be our top 3 shows from each season, and then we are going to do an awards show of sorts for segment number 2. So strap in, strap on. It's going to be a fun one. Yeah, I know. Yeah, look at them eyes. Ooh, you got excited, didn't you?
You said strap on, so.
I did. Speaking of winter and how freaking, well, I guess it was fall that was the stacked season, not winter. We're in winter now, but let's start with winter. It was, months ago. It started a year ago, essentially, literally.
Yep.
So for those who haven't really watched many shows, because there weren't that many shows in winter, it's probably one of the weakest seasons. Was your number 3 show for the season?
My number 3 was Demon Slayer Entertainment District. I thought that it was the ideal tr- direction that the show could have gone. They did it perfectly. The action was incredible. Too bad Ufotable CEO or president or whomever got caught with tax evasion or something. So bye to those graphics, I guess. But no, that season was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, for my number 3, I honestly, yeah, it was Demon Slayer. I think that this is the strongest season of Demon Slayer. Granted, we've only really had 2.5, if we want to count, Mugen Train the movie and Mugen Train the arc as its
Yeah.
own like half a season. I don't know. Um, this was definitely the best Demon Slayer has offered to us quite like yet. Um, it wasn't like, oh my god, mind-blowingly amazing, but it was like the CG, not, well, minus the blood CGI, like the animation and the CGI combined, like, were really fucking good. I have my thoughts on the how they CGI'd the blood, and I didn't really like it. Other than that, like, the animation was great, but like, aside from that, I think that this is a lot of growth with the characters, progressing the story at a very good pace, and just kind of really hopping into the boss of really the entertainment district, or I guess just the main villain of the entertainment district, midway through the season, and not really, building it up for a whole season and then going into like a part 2 to be like, okay, here's the battle. So I think
Mhm.
they fixed a few pacing issues in this, and I think that, I mean, the animation was stellar, and the story itself, overall, was really solid. So for me, number 3, Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think they're going to keep that formula moving forward too, because for the next arc,
yeah,
they have like
it's
an hour or hour and a half movie ahead of
the
time.
so the I'm really actually upset about this whole situation with the movie. It's really dumb. It's really fucking dumb.
Eh, I don't know. I really don't mind it.
They're taking the last 2 episodes from the entertainment district, making that part of the movie, and then the first episode from the new arc and throwing that in as well.
Yeah.
So that's the movie, and
It's
it
gonna
comes out
have a
like a
connecting.
month. It comes out a month before the season does.
Yeah, it's sort of bridging the gap between entertainment and Swordsmith Village or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, I thought it was the first episode. Okay, we're not here to report the news. But yeah, Demon Slayer. I think it. Yeah. I'm sassing you. So sassy. Demon Slayer, it definitely stepped up more than just animation wise, because season one was pretty, but they did a lot more in this season.
Yeah.
But moving on to number two, for me it was Sabaku Ibisco. You and I, during this season, during the winter months, you and I talked this show to death. We absolutely loved this show. Like,
Yeah.
it was just off the wall crazy, and you didn't like it. It's like watching a TikTok or a reel or whatever of never let them know your next move. Like that's what this show is. It's just so freaking all over the place in the best possible way, while progressing the story at a good pace and kind of fleshing out the characters. The characters are probably maybe the weakest point of just like developing them. The character development was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but I think fleshing out the world that they did and progressing the story at a good pace while also giving you crazy and giving you good fight scenes. I think that's what the main appeal to me was, and I think it did it so much better than a lot of shows did this season or like this year. But yeah, this one kind of flew under the radar. I feel like for people, or they just nobody really talked about it too much. But I know you and I, we both loved this show.
Yeah. It should kind of show just how like you can be creative, really imaginative, and still have a fairly decent story that's cohesive and well paced, like you said, but have all those chaotic elements to it. Like there is a fucking flying, grabby little worm thing that like protected these rust mushrooms or whatever. Like there's like a whole bunch of there was mechanized hippos at one point. They rode on a crab like for most of their time in the anime. Like there's a lot of weird shit in this show, but it in the grand scheme of things just kind of all made sense given the environment and the setting and everything. So I thought it was great as an original. I thought it was superb as an anime and did not get enough credit uh, where credit was due. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a lot of fun.
And I don't think he mentioned it, but that's his number two as well.
Yeah,
So
sorry. Our winners are exactly the same. In case you didn't notice.
for this season, they're the exact same. Going
Yeah, our
forward,
winter.
there's like a change here and there, but for the most part, we do have similar shows on our list. So
Not surprising.
but yeah, our winter list is the same exact. Number one show of winter was definitely My Dress Up Darling.
For
You
sure.
and I, like, we watched episode one and we both knew, we are like, oh yeah, this is it. This is the peak slice of life rom-com that we wanted this season, that we didn't expect it to be this good. Went into it knowing, okay, this is an anime about cosplay. We didn't know if it was about making cosplay, about cosplayers, or what. And it was a little bit of everything to give you a taste of what that world is. They did an amazing job with the two main characters and their side characters and fleshing out their stories and developing them as well. Overall, phenomenal show. I know that you and I, we both gushed about this in the winter season as well.
Yep. Yeah. All credit to the mangaka too, because she dove headfirst into the cosplay world, like brand new to it, and enveloped herself into it day in, day out. In all of the different volumes of My Dress Up Darling and the afterward, she talks about like different stores she went to, people she talked to, events she would go to, like all sort of in line with how she wanted to portray cosplaying in the manga, and it definitely translated in the anime too. It's etchy too at times, you know. You have to have some sort of element to that, I guess, when it's cosplaying, because for some reason those two are always tied together. It doesn't have to be all the time, but in this case it was. But I think they did a perfect job of portraying the cosplaying industry while also making a very wholesome slice of life rom-com, whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
Yeah,
superb.
agreed.
Quick note too, in case you're listening and thinking, winter 2022. Seems like the season where another big show was. Yes, there was. It was Attack on Titan, and we're not talking about it for obvious reasons. So shut up, and we're moving on.
And those obvious reasons are we did not enjoy it.
We'll talk about it later.
It's as simple as that. We will talk about it later. That's a surprise for the awards. But moving on, we are going to move into spring 2022. This was where everything like took another fucking step above, like, because Winter, like, it had some really, really, really quality shows. It had some big names. I mean, it had Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer. Those are two of the biggest names in anime right now. But spring is where it took another step up, and it
Mhm.
was absolutely amazing. I think you and I, we have very similar lists. Our number three is different, so why don't you go into your number three real quick? But I mean, we can go honorable. Like, I'll bring up honorable mentions that we will talk about after we go through our top three.
Yeah. So my number 3 for the season, and if you listen to the podcast, it probably won't be a surprise, but to many else who haven't listened to episodes that far in the past, first off, welcome. My number 3 is Daimon Recipe for Happiness. This one was, we watched the trailer, I think, when we were previewing, and I was like, oh, cool. It's about Japanese sweet shop. Guy comes back home after a certain amount of years away trying to fulfill his career being a musician. Doesn't pan out, sort of gets coaxed into coming back and going into the family business and training to take it over, only to find out that there's a young girl who their family adopts, and now she's the one in line. And so it's like him trying to get back into his family life and mending all of those relationships while also training her and seeing her open up more with him and the rest of the family. It it took me by surprise. Like, I was floored by how fantastic this anime was. Every episode had a meaningful story to it. They focused heavily on the characters and made them integral pieces throughout the entire show, not just one-off throwaway weird things like most other slice of lives do. Like, every single person that they introduced had a role to play, and it was important to the story and how other characters developed. And then there was also important just for the overall aesthetic of the show too, and how they've meshed with just the entire, I guess, storyline to begin with. Like, utterly fantastic. And then you forget, like, oh shit, it's also a sweet shop, so you start learning about sweets too. Like, you just like, you're like, oh, I didn't realize that the seasons, like, there's different sweets for the seasons, and what sweet is tied to what season, and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, and then, oh yeah, sorry, and then next scene I'm gonna go start crying because they're talking about something sad. Like, it was it's such a roller coaster of emotions, but it was such a fun ride. Like, this
Yeah.
this was definitely, well, I have a special award for it later, so I won't go too much more, but it was definitely the number 3 in my opinion, just in terms of how well put together the entire show was. And then again, how under the radar it was too. I don't think anyone talked about it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my anime list, only 82,000 people rated it, and that's astoundingly low.
Yeah.
So it is a very good show. I watched it with you every week. I was like, this is amazing, this is great. I absolutely loved it. This would probably be my number 4 show if I had a number 4 slot, but it is not my number 3. My number 3 is your boy Kong Ming. Week in, week out, this show always put a goddamn smile on my face. It was so much fun to just watch this just silly show about a Chinese tactician being reincarnated into nowadays Japan, like present day Japan, and use those tactics to help a small time girl singer, like EDM pop singer, make it big and make her dreams come true. Week in, week out, this show just was a delight to watch. It was funny, music was good, albeit they did use the same song
A little
way
repetitive.
too fucking often. But I mean, it was still so freaking good. This was another show that I feel like a lot of people would have talked about it more. Like, it got a good enough like rap from the people who watched it. A lot of people enjoyed it. However, I don't think as many people saw it for the fact that it was on High Dive and not on Crunchyroll. I feel like with the
Yeah.
buzz that it got, if it were to have been on Crunchyroll, this definitely would have gotten a little bit more, buzz around it, and it would have more conversations after each episode. There wasn't too much going on.
Yeah.
So to me, this is my number 3, your boy Kong Ming. If you haven't seen it, by all means, please go watch it. It's on High Dive. It is an absolute delight from episode 1 to the season finale, and I cannot wait to get some more because God, is it good. Um, but yeah, from there we're gonna go number 2 show of the season, which you and we both have the same. Spy Family. Spy Family was a delight. It was from the first episode, it was everything I wanted and more. You and I both read the manga. We knew what was going to happen. We knew where it would stop for the most part, and it was just it was such a delight. Part 1 for Spy Family, which by the way, in my opinion, is the better part. Spy Family Part 1 was so good, from the characters, the world, to the scenarios that they're all put in, and the way they expanded the actual source material itself. Like I think it was episode 2 or 3 where they do the castle episode, and
Yeah.
almost none of that is in the manga. Like there's maybe 5 pages worth, which isn't a lot. So the way they expanded upon the manga and made this TV show something special. I mean, if you're listening to this, there's no way you haven't heard of the show. If you don't watch a lot of anime, there's still a potential you have heard of this show. Between your being mommy of the year to Lloyd being daddy of the year and Anya being the one you protect this year, like you've seen it somewhere. So this was like one of those cultural phenomenon shows that took everybody by storm, and for good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it a lot when it was out, and we were hyping it up leading up to it releasing as well. But I think this show, even in its first core, because I think the second core is still good, but definitely,
yeah. By no means is it bad. I just think that the first core is better.
yeah, it's the first core is stronger. I would agree with, but I think regardless though of which one you look at, or if you look at it as a whole, Spy Family has officially cemented itself as the anime where if you want to get your friends into it, you show them this show. Before, I would always say, show them Cowboy Bebop, show them like I'm trying to think of like other shows similar to like Spy Family, but like if you have a friend that's like really intense and like likes actiony and blood and gore, show them Attack on Titan. First up, like nothing compares to Attack on Titan's first episode out of any other show any other anime I've ever seen. Like that first episode is fantastic. But as a show in its entirety, Spy Family is quite possibly the easiest show for any watcher of any genre, whether you've watched a million hours of anime or not a second of it, to get them into this medium. We'll say it's from action to the comedy to the rom-commy slice of life aspects of it to the characters to the world, everything about it, utterly fantastic. So it's definitely one of those shows that I'll probably even go back and rewatch it over and over again, like I do with Cowboy Bebop, because it is just one of those shows where it's so fun to watch.
It's a delight.
It's very, it's enjoyable from start to finish. I don't think there was ever a point at which I was watching it and I was like, I'll skip this episode, whatever.
Yeah.
Like every single episode has a lot of elements to it that it's fun, actiony, comedy, whatever. You're gonna get it all, bits and pieces of it, throughout every single episode.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything for anyone in this show.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's our number 2, Spy Family. Number 1 show of the season for spring 2022. You and I both unanimously agree it's Kaguya-sama, season 3. Love is War, ultra romantic.
As much as we both loved our Spy Family and our respective number 3s, it was like a country mile between Spy Family and Kaguya-sama.
Kaguya-sama honestly was one of the best shows all year, let alone just this season. Like it is a definite top tier show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've laughed as much at a show in recent memory than I have watching this third season of Kaguya-sama. It blows me away every time too, because they have a tendency to reuse a lot of like the old kind of jokes and but they do a great job of making it feel fresh and different every time. And
Yeah.
somehow they make it funnier and funnier each time as well.
It's not like Baka and Tess where they just take the same joke and repeat it over and over and over again like
Right.
you're kicking a dead horse. They like put it in different scenarios. They do different things with the same joke, and it's an absolute fucking treasure of a show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I could not stop laughing. Every fucking episode was so great. Let alone like there were funny bits, but like the actual, I mean the whole show is called Love is War, ultra romantic this season. Like even the romance in this season was so good and so well thought out, and even at times fucking hilarious. The whole bit between I think not Shinigami, what's his name? The accountant Ishigami.
Yeah,
That's close.
Ishigami.
Ishigami. His
Shinigami, I mean, he could be a Soul
Shinigami,
Reaper, I guess.
he could be a Soul Reaper. I was gonna say Ishigami. His whole love interest in that whole arc and that whole series of events is absolutely fucking hilarious. I don't think I've laughed at a show. We'll get more onto that later. I haven't laughed that hard at a show in such a long time that I don't remember what. It was probably Kaguya-sama season 2 that I was laughing that hard. But I mean, I watched it both in dub and sub. Like I loved this show that much. I watched both because both bring something so special to the table. Like the subtitled version, you get the whole plot, you get some of the stories, and you get some more of the I feel like Japanese jokes. And then in the dubbed, it's if you have not watched the dub for Kaguya-sama, go look up some clips. Just start the whole show right now. It
Yeah.
is a fucking troll of a show. It just takes everything that they do in the subtitle and just crank it to 11 in just ridiculousness. It is
The narrator has a field day with it.
the narrator is the best part of the show in the dub. It's hilarious that he is the funniest part of the show. But yeah, by far Kaguya-sama season 3 number 1 show spring 2022. And with that, we are going to summer 2022. This is a little similar. We are both of our lists are a little similar, just different places in one different show. So, I'll have you start this one off.
Okay. I'm gonna roll through my 3 right in a row, just bing bang boom, because we got
Yeah,
we
let's do that.
got a lot to get through.
We do.
All right, so for summer, my number 3, I have Danmachi season 4, which is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Thought it was a definite departure from the other 3 seasons in terms of like the action and gore, and I thought that was great. I like that because I thought they were sort of deviating more into like the we're building a harem sort of thing, and they're like, no, fuck that shit. We're going hardcore in the dungeon. Shit's getting intense. People are dying left and right. This is what you want to see. And I was like, heck yeah, I do. Got to learn more about the deeper levels of the dungeon. Obviously, we have the second core coming out next season, I think, right?
Yeah, it starts this Thursday.
Yeah, oh shit. Okay. Wow, look at that. So we have the next core starting in a couple of days. Can't wait to see where that goes. But I thought this was a great continuation of season 3. Granted, I thought they would go a little bit more into what they had created in season 3, which they were brought up. If you're not familiar, it's the Xenos people, which was I thought season 3 was incredible. This does expand a little bit more there, but focuses more on the dungeon itself, and I thought that was excellent. And I can't wait for the next core. My number 2 is Licorice Recoil. I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's basically like if John Wick turned into a bunch of high school girls and kicked ass left and right. Like it's
not
the
much
story.
More you could really say about that.
Yeah, no, it is exactly like a John Wick film. You don't watch John Wick for the story. You don't watch John Wick for character development. You really just watch John Wick to see him like just shoot a bunch of people in the face and save dogs. Like that's all you watch him do, right? This is what Licorice Recoil is. Like the characters, there's some development between the main character and the counterpart. I forget names, apologies.
The main two, Chisato and I will find the other one real quick once you continue talking.
So there's some development there, and some of the side characters there's limited amount, which again is fine. The story itself, Takina, thank you. The story itself, nothing fantastic by any means. It's just like it's a new era, and there's an organization that sponsors these basically Mensa kids, effectively. Um,
Jesus.
that's what they are. It's
Yeah.
Mensa. It's like very like students, young kids that this one person, this benefactor believes they're going to do great things in life. Well, one of the main character, Chisato, is one of those children, but he basically just made her one because he's like, "Oh, this chick's going to be an assassin and do work for me." And they're like, "Okay, cool." Like that's the one big twist. Like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
So nothing really there. It's just the action. And the action is constant and it's incredible. Like the sequences that they choreograph are fantastic. There's even like suspense too. You're like, oh shit, how is she gonna get out of this one? Like, granted, you always know that they're gonna probably prevail, but there's still a little bit of tension there.
Yeah.
Thought it was great, and again, it's a brand new series. It's an original series. They're writing a short, like a light novel now,
They've
right? I think it's
released
light
they've
novel,
they've released a light novel for it. I don't know if they're writing
and
any
now
more
there's gonna.
material
I
for
thought there was gonna be a manga now too.
that. I could see. I can confirm once you go into your number one.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a light novel out for sure. I don't know about a manga, and I don't think they have a season 2 announced.
Yeah, no, I don't believe so. But I know there's material coming out now for it. But no, I thought that was great. Definitely took me by surprise. Um, a very much a turn your brain off, pour a big bowl of popcorn, grab your 2 liter Mountain Dew, and just sit back and relax and watch some high school girls beat the shit out of people. A lot
Yes,
of
there
fun.
is a manga that started in September, so you are
Hey, look at me
correct.
go. And then my number one, it there was really no contest, I don't think, in my opinion, was Call of the Night. It's been described a bajillion times, and I will repeat it every single time because I can't think of any better way to describe it. It is if lo-fi was like this show is the incarnation of lo-fi. It is a walking embodiment of what you would expect lo-fi to be if it actually materialized, and it's fantastic. Like the settings are incredible, the colors, the way they use the colors to portray the night, and the environment itself is superb. The characters are a lot of fun. The story is really interesting. They're going to get more into it. This is again one of those ones that Frank and I are reading the source material on, and the story just gets deeper and deeper and deeper,
Yeah.
and it's
Volume
like
10 just came out, and Volume 10 is probably the best volume they've released to date.
but in my opinion, it gets better and better each volume too. Like there's no slowing down. It's always moving forward. There's always something being built. It's fantastic, and they did a very excellent job in the anime, pulling all those elements from the manga, which is hard because again, it takes place at night, like 95% of the time. The characters have really interesting personalities that have to come across, from the paper onto the screen, and they nailed it. Not to mention the sound design and the overall soundtrack as well, perfectly on point. If you haven't watched it, go give it a watch. It's on High Dive, but it's just
It's
go
great.
watch it. Go watch it. Go.
Run. Leave here. No.
Yeah, do it.
To run through my three real quick, Call of the Night is my number three. There's not much more I can say that Tyler hasn't said already. It is a vibe of an anime. It's lo-fi in person, like incarnate. It is a great show. It is definitely a must-watch if you like slice of life genre. If you like vampires in general, it is a very good, well thought out, methodical show. Takes its time, doesn't want to rush anything, and it only gets better with time. It's great. My number two, not much more I can say else about this one. Licorice Recoil. I fucking loved it. It's John Wick, but girls. I think the one thing that you didn't really talk too much about that I want to talk about is that the character dynamics between just the main two girls and their developing relationship was awesome. It was amazing. It was well thought out. It was very good. But I also think that their relationship with the people that work at the cafe, between the hacker girl, the barista guy, the guy who actually is like the head honcho,
Mhm.
and the basically kind of mom or older sister character who they poke fun at a lot. I think that all those character interactions and even the interactions between those side characters with each other was so well thought out and very just pleasant. It was just a pleasant surprise. This could have been a fucking throwaway show, but it was just so much more than that. It was a great surprise. I really enjoyed it. But my number one show of summer 2022, which you have not watched, and I do implore you, buddy, to watch it. It is amazing. It is haunting. It is terrifying. It is Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss season 2 was an absolute masterclass of how you do a sequel. Um, for those of you who don't know, Made in Abyss had its first season, phenomenal show. It revolves around kids going down into a pit that has multiple layers, but the further you go down, the more dangerous it becomes, not just because of what inhabits those layers, but because also when you try to ascend the pit, the worse kind of penalties, I guess, for the lack of a better word that can't think of right now, the worst penalties there are to your body. So level 1 going back to the surface is like headache, nausea, etc., etc. Level 2 is, even worse than that. It's like you're bedridden for days. Level 3, you're literally bleeding out your eyes and ears, and then it's bad. And then like level 4 and 5, it's like literal, like you are turned into a pile of mush. Like you are
Yeah,
now a mush person. Like it is very grotesque in the sense that they're putting children through this. Like, and it's not just like if you elevate all the way to the top, it's if you elevate anything at all, like these consequences start.
yeah,
So
that first level you could cure it with some Pepto Bismol. I don't think Pepto Bismol can cure mushifying.
Pepto Bismol cures headaches.
Heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach,
I said
diarrhea.
headaches and nausea. Oh, okay, nausea.
I,
But
I heard the nausea part. I was like,
yeah. But yeah, no, season 2, like season 1, between season 1 and 2 there is a movie which is just amazing. It's fucking phenomenal. It's not a gimmick of like, in my opinion, I thought Demon Slayer's movie was a bit of a gimmick, but whatever. It's neither here nor there.
move
I think
along.
moving it along, Made in Abyss's movie was great, and then season 2 is how you do a sequel. It expands the world that you already know a decent chunk about from season 1 and the movie, and then introduces like a new cast of characters in this new layer, and introduces the rules of the world that they live in that layer. The world building in the show is by far the strongest bit. The character development is okay, but between, I mean, just if you like world development, like if you're a fan of like Lord of the Rings type world building, this is the show for you. It is brutal, but this is the show for you. And to top it all off, you have the absolute fucking greatest soundtrack by Kevin Penkin. Like, it is such a great show. That is why Made in Abyss season 2 is my number one. And we are moving into fall. Now, fall, all 3 shows we have are the same shows, but they are all in a different order.
Yeah.
So let's just go with my list for now. And
Yeah,
we can, if we need to discuss more, we can for your list. But my number 3 is Chainsaw Man. The reason why it's number 3, I knew exactly what we were going to get because I've read the story. I knew it, and I was looking forward to it. It was one of those shows that I had hyped up in my mind so much that when when the show came out and when I watched it all, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I expected from this show. It didn't do anything really out of the ordinary. It didn't do anything out of the realm of like this already exists from the source material, which I thought was like, I know that people are like purists and everything are just like, oh, keep it the same, keep it the same. I sometimes like it when they do, different things or add more to the world or add more to, a subtext or subplot. And we didn't get that with this, which is fine because the story itself is so good. But knowing that season 2 of Chainsaw Man is going to be so much better than season 1, it's like, okay, I knew what we were going to get with Chainsaw Man. This is a solid benchmark of like, yes, this is great. Anything that can beat it, phenomenal. And there were 2 shows, in my opinion, that I thought that were better than Chainsaw Man from a factor of I really enjoyed these shows week to week. In which I'm just going to go through my whole list. My number 2,
yeah.
Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. For as much as people are actually watching Bleach, not a lot of people are really talking about Bleach. I have not seen a lot of conversation around this. You still have a half of episode left to go for the show, but I know it's on your list at number 3. Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War is amazing. It's not only just the visual upgrade, it is the story upgrade, it is the character upgrade, it is everything about the original show that you loved taken to like level 11. Bleach is absolutely a masterclass in animation, writing, action, etc. Everything about Bleach is great. They took the fucking song number one, which was already a damn bop and so damn good, and somehow made it fucking better. I don't know how they did it, but they fucking did it. Bleach just blew. Like, I binged all of the canon episodes of Bleach this past year in 2022. And, I miss some things, like subtle things here and there? Sure, I did. But for the most part, I got it. I was like, you know what? This show, it's good. I see why it's part of the big three. I understand it's a good show. Is it my favorite? No, by no means. But Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, holy shit, they cranked it up to 11. There's like, if you've watched Bleach, you owe it yourself to continue watching this show. If you haven't watched Bleach, I think it is worth watching the canon episodes, which literally cuts the episode like list in half. It's worth to watch the 160 some odd episodes just to watch this season, because this season so far has been so good. And this continues in July, so you have 6 months to catch up. So go, go, go. Bleach is number 2. And then for me, number 1, I can't believe I'm saying this really honestly, Bocchi the Rock. Bocchi the Rock, holy fucking shit. What a phenomenal show. Like, there are not enough words that I'm not going to talk about this that much, because there really aren't like, I can't find the words to say to describe the admiration I have for this show. Between the characters all progressing in some shape or form, whether it be they're growing as a person or you're seeing their true nature. Like Kita's character, Kita is the guitarist who ran away and then comes back. You see her like every single of. I know I'm kind of like, my ADHD brain right now can't stay on one fucking track. All the characters are amazing. They're well written out. They are all different personalities that I can see parts of myself being this one, parts of myself being that one, and relating to each and every one of them with their different types of social personalities. Then you have the music. The music is absolutely fucking amazing. It is Bocchi the Rock. She is the rock of their group. This is a rock show. The rock music in this show is bar none so fucking great. There's so much more I want to say about the show, but we are really strapped for time. But I will just end it with, you owe yourself to go watch this show. This show is amazing. So that is my top 3 shows of fall 2023.
All right, I'm gonna give my 2 cents on each of them because I don't really have much more to say. My number 3 is Bleach. Bleach is my favorite of the big 3. I watched it forever ago. I've seen all of the canon, non-canon, filler episodes, everything in between. I just cannot describe it in any other way other than intense. Like this Thousand Year Blood War, this arc takes everything that Bleach was and cranks it up to a bajillion degrees. Like it took me by surprise when I started the first episode. Not like just how much, I guess, blood and gore there is, but just how how they go about doing everything. Like
They set a
all the
tone.
battle scenes. Yeah, it very early on they're like, we're not holding anything back. Like this is going to be hard to watch at times. This is going to be intense. It's we're gonna get through it, but it's gonna be a lot. So just kind of buckle in and sit tight because it's not gonna slow down either. So I thought it was fantastic. Like Frank said, I got a half an episode left, but boy oh boy, can I not wait for the second core to come out in July. It's going to be great. My number 2 is Bocchi the Rock. It's if Komi mixed with Kaguya, mixed with K-On, mixed with really funky, weird animation. Like it's got all these weird elements to it that you're like, this shouldn't really work. Like it might be fun, but it's not going to be good. Boy, oh boy, would you be wrong. Fantastic. Like I have not laughed. Kaguya-sama season 3 made me laugh a shit ton. This made me laugh about the same.
Consistently.
Yeah,
Consistently.
from just the way that they deliver their lines to how like crazy Bochi's animated at times to just
Even the
all
band name. Even the band name is a
Yeah.
pun in itself.
yeah all the characters have such like rich personalities. They feel alive. Absolutely wonderful. People were shitting on it earlier. It'd be like, there's no way slice of life can be anime of the season or anime of the year even. I implore you, if you're not a fan of slice of life stuff, if you're not a fan of comedy, first off, I feel really bad for you if you're only watching shonen. But regardless, just go give it a watch. It's just go give it a watch.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say anymore.
It's phenomenal. It's great. It's everything you need and more.
Yeah.
But speaking
And
of
then
everything you need and more,
my number one is Chainsaw Man because chainsaw. All right, that's it.
oh, I forgot that you had that at number 1. That's my bad. I was gonna say, and everything you need and more, we have our anime awards. Woo!
Yay!
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna announce the category. We're gonna count down 3, 2, 1, and we're both gonna say our answer, discuss briefly, and move on because we are pressed for time. We are already 40. We are already 46 minutes into this podcast.
We don't have to explain it. Let's just we'll each say it.
Fine. And if we do need to talk about it, we do need to talk about it. But first category, best boy. For me, or do you want to do 3, 2, 1, or do you just want to go one by one?
No, just go one by one.
All right, one by one. Best boy for me, it was Ko from Call of the Night. Ko from Call of the Night. He is just a relatable character in which he doesn't know what he wants in life, and then he finally finds it. And he's like, okay, now I need to figure out how to accomplish it. He's such a relatable guy. He's no like ill will towards anybody. I really think that Ko is a really well written out character. Ko is my best boy of the year.
For me, it's Gojo from My Dress Up Darling. I loved watching him flower and like bloom into a beautiful flower, and it was at the help of Kitagawa just basically saying how he shouldn't feel bad about his hobbies and how he should basically just invest in them. Don't care what people say. If you like it, enjoy it, do what you love. And that's exactly what he was like at the very end. And I thought it was wonderful.
Yes. Next category, best girl. I mean, we both had the same one. It's pretty fucking obvious. It's Anya from Spy Family. Anya, Peanuts. If you haven't seen Spy Family yet, you're missing out. Anya is a phenomenal character. Her expressions are great. Her personality is stupid and hilarious. It's great. I do want to give an honorable mention to the little girl from Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. Fucking adorable. Great character. If you haven't watched Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting, go watch it. But that's just an honorable mention. And I almost put the girl from Daimon as well in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she would be an honorable mention as well.
My honorable mention would be Akabe from Akabe's Sailor Uniform.
I still need to watch it. They just put it on Crunchyroll. I will be watching it soon.
Hey, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it, boy. All right. Speaking of boy, I don't know. Anyways, best protagonist / anti-hero. I put anti-hero because of your pick. For me, I really love Chisato from Licorice Recoil. I think that she was one of the most fun protagonists we've had in a very long time. I think that her character is somebody that can carry a show and carry a scene very well and just do it effortlessly. For me, she was the best protagonist. She always thought of others. There's nothing more I can really say. There's a lot I could say, but for the lack of time, Chisato is definitely my protagonist of the year.
Denji, because he just wants to touch boobs.
Yeah, fucking...
Don't we all? Don't we all?
In one way or another, maybe. Anywho, oh god, that was a bad voice crack. Best villain / antagonist. For me, it was Wazukan from Made in Abyss. He's not necessarily a villain in the traditional sense, but he is the antagonist in which he is the opposing factor that is moving the plot along. He is the one that is making decisions for this village, that is putting them through physical hell, and like also somewhat safeguarding them from the abyss itself. But the way that his character is progresses throughout the season, and the story you get from his background to what he's plotting in the now, he is my antagonist of the year. He is the best villain in my opinion. I absolutely loved his character.
Mine is the mayor from Subby Bisco. I thought he was well written out. I like the fact that he's a little bit humorous. He's also very intense at times, cutthroat. Was sort of shafted in terms of screen time, but I thought he had an impact when he was on the screen and in the different scenes. So I'm gonna give it to him. Honorable mention because he's not a traditional villain, again, like you were saying about yours. But he is sort of like an antagonist in the sense that everyone's kind of like fuck you to him. Is Ego from Blue Lock.
Okay.
Um, Fantastic. Like I love his character.
Yeah,
It
he's progressing the story in a negative point of view.
Yeah,
Essentially,
exactly.
he's the one behind all their pain.
Right. So I would give him an honorable mention because every time he shows up, I always find myself smirking at everything he says.
Okay, I love these next two because we have them essentially flipped.
The plot.
Best opening for me. I have Call of the Night. I absolutely love fucking Call of the Night. Like Call of the Night's ending is great, but their opening is such a fucking banger. It is so good. It is groovy. It is just the oh, it's so good. Go listen to it. Like I can't do it justice. I really can't.
Chainsaw Man. Nothing else needs to be said.
Yeah,
It's there's so many references in it. The soundtrack is too good as well. Like there's no, it's Chainsaw Man for best opening.
best ending. I actually had Chainsaw Man, and it had 12 endings. It had 12 different ones. For me, the one that sticks out the most, and I absolutely loved, even though it is the most chaotic, is the third ending. It is like the heavy metal
Is
gone
it
like
is it with Power doing all of her different like things on
no.
the screen?
This is the one where it's just like
Oh, I
the
know which one you're talking
the
about. Yeah, yeah.
the singer is just like just screaming essentially, and just then all of a sudden it breaks into like this calm where Makima is like portrayed as an angel, like, and Denji's just like kind of bowing down or at her knee, like at on his knees for her,
Hmm.
and then it goes back into rock, and it's like, oh man, this ending was so fucking good.
Nope.
Yeah,
It's Call of the Night for me. The Call of the Night ending is the best, I think. I love the opening too. They're by the same band too. Really quick
Creepy Nuts.
backstory. Yeah, Creepy Nuts is the band. Right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
band is called Creepy Nuts.
Because I think the opening for season 1 of Spy Family is called Creepy Nuts. I think.
I can look into that, but I don't.
Anyway, the artist went to the band actually and asked if they could uh make a manga titled Call of the Night from one of their songs, and they were like, yeah, so long as you put us in and use, and put us in the anime. And they were like, sure. And so they did, and I
Spy
thought that
Family
was
is
great.
called Mixed Nuts.
Oh, mixed nuts, my bad. But yeah, no, Call of the Night's ending is great. The opening's good, ending's better.
Fair enough. Best overall score. This isn't just taking into account, opening and endings. This is everything in between. For me, I've already said it. Made in Abyss. It is so atmospheric. It is so fucking good. Kevin Penkin is a goddamn madman. Go listen to it. It's on Spotify, both seasons 1 and 2. I believe. I believe season 2 is on there. I'm not quite sure, but if you listen to season 1, you'll know exactly what I mean. It is very, similar vibes to season 2. So, Made in Abyss, by far, best score of the year.
Call of the Night, in my opinion, if you take the dialogue away, it just turns into a lo-fi album.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
that's fair. Best action show. We're split on this one. Mine is Chainsaw Man. I absolutely love the action in it. It's everything I wanted from the manga and more. It's Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man is the best action show of the year.
I had to give it to Bleach because I thought Bleach had more action in general. I think there was more fight scenes and just overall action and fights. I don't know. I keep saying the same two words. Than
I think
Chainsaw Man.
it's about like once you put like 2 and 2 together, I think it's about the same per show.
I honestly don't think there was a lot of instances in Chainsaw Man. Granted, we had read the source material. We're all the way caught up through what's out currently from the author, the Tatsuki Fujimoto. But it just there were good scenes of good fight scenes in Chainsaw Man. But I thought overall There was the sheer amount and the sheer intensity of the fight scenes in Bleach just surpassed Chainsaw Man.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I like your pick. I mean, I love Bleach as my number 2 show. So,
Yeah.
best slice of life. For me, it was hands down Bocchi the Rock. It was never going to be anything else.
Yep.
Like it really was.
For me, mine's gonna have a slight explanation because people will be like, "What the fuck? You didn't even talk about it earlier in your favorites." My best slice of life is Akabe's Sailor Uniform. The everything from the way it was drawn to the characters to the setting to just every single episode was laid back. It was some school event or some friend's trip to the mall. Like it was the epitome of a slice of life. Like it was the most relaxed, casual, soothing type of anime you'd want to watch in a slice of life. Uh, Just go give it a watch. And
Yeah.
please don't get turned away by one of the first scenes, which is a girl clipping her toenails on her desk. Okay, people clip that shit all the time and put it on. They're like, "Ew, is this the foot sniffing anime?" I'm like, "No, it's much more than that. There's so much depth to it. The characters are great. The environment, the world, like everything about it is just fantastic." So yeah, it's a wonderful. If you're having a rough week and you just want a show where you can just lay in bed covered up with a nice hot piping cup of tea, watch Akabe Sailor Uniform because that's just what the doctor is going to order for you to just relax and recoup.
I'll be watching it with a cup of coffee instead of tea, but I will be
There you
watching
go.
it soon for sure. Moving on, best isekai. This is technically an isekai.
It is in fact an isekai.
I have not watched yours, but mine is technically an isekai. Your boy Kong Ming. I've said it once. I've said it again. This show is an absolute fucking delight. If you have not watched it, it's on High Dive. I implore you. There's enough on High Dive to go get a membership. Please do. It's great. It's so great.
Mine is Uncle from Another World. It had a weird instance where they had to postpone episodes and they're restarting it again. So I'm not all the way caught up through what's out. I've watched through the first 7 episodes when they were originally airing last season and absolutely loved it. It is the like anti isekai, still an isekai technically. So it's think of like Konosuba, but less on the humor side and more on just the really goofy side. Thought it was wonderful. The comedy that it is in it is on the nose. It's fantastic. The art style is a little weird, but I actually like it in terms of like just the overall vibe of the show. But yeah, no, Uncle from Another World, definitely a must watch if you're into the anti isekai quote unquote genre of isekais.
Very self aware.
Yeah,
But you and I, we both have the same answer for best new anime. Best new anime is definitely going to Spy Family. Spy X Family, whatever you want to call it. As Tyler said earlier in his explanation for why it was his, I think, one of his favorite shows for spring, it is that show now that you could just recommend to a friend and be like, hey, if you want to get into anime, this is probably the easiest because it has a little bit of everything in it for everyone. So there's something you can latch on to enjoy. And we both agree on that. I think that this is the best new anime of the year.
Yep.
But moving on to sleeper of the year. This is where we've talked about them briefly, but let's get a little bit more into it before we finish off.
A quick explanation, sleeper doesn't mean like you want to sleep on it. It means like the underdog or the unseen black sheep of the season.
This is the show that nobody really talked about. People watched it, but nobody really discussed. For me, it was Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. The show every week in, week out was an absolute delight to watch. It was a great, I wouldn't say it was a great slice of life. It was a very good slice of life. There was a little character progression, but just the day-to-day scenarios that they find themselves in between being a Yakuza and having to babysit, it was a delight to watch from start to finish. I really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people slept on it.
Yeah, mine's Daimon. I talked about it before, but just in terms of an anime kind of showing off one thing and then feigning and faking you out and going a completely different direction with everything, but in the most fantastic way possible. This show does that. You go into it, you're thinking, oh, it's just about a candy shop. It's going to be a nice, wholesome slice of life, nothing too special. It goes way beyond that. It dives deep into family issues. It dives deep into character development. It dives deep to like a whole bunch of social issues as well. Like they talk about cross-dressing, they talk about, being a single mom and traveling. They talk about a whole bunch of stuff that like is not very common in anime, let alone a slice of life too, because you're like, slice of life supposed to be happy and joyful and ha ha ha. It's like, no, this one's intense. And they do a wonderful job tying in all these just really tough issues into every single episode and making it feel so well thought out and so cohesive. Like I said before, every episode is a joy to watch. All have different messages. The characters are so integral to every single piece of the story, and there's many of them. Just give it a watch. It's one of the best slice of lives to come out in a long time, in my opinion.
Yeah. Next up, we both have the same answer for this one. Most disappointing and overrated show. It is Attack on Titan season 4 part 2. Now you may be wondering, why do we have Attack on Titan here? Neither of us really enjoyed Attack on Titan season 4 part 2. Neither of us really enjoyed season 4 part 1, to be completely honest. I think the first half of part 1 was really solid.
Yeah.
And then it just fucking fell off the rails because it's like, here's 3 political parties. Each political party has a sub party, and they have their own agendas. And remember all these characters from season 1 that you haven't seen since season 1? Cool. Here they all are again in season 4 part 1 and part 2. You should give a shit about them. I don't give a shit about any of them. I really don't at this point. I really only care about the main cast of characters. And they just drew this out so fucking long, and it didn't end. And there were like maybe three, maybe 4 actually enjoyable episodes of this season. Yep. Which I think the main reveal of Aaron's plan and him time traveling type thing was, those 2 episodes were absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And I think one of the later episodes where they're trying to steal the ship was pretty damn good. But like everything else was just like, this really isn't great. Like, yeah, you're having a battle in the middle of the city again. For what reason? Oh, because we want to assassinate this guy, but we're not going to assassinate them, but we are going to, like, it's just, it got so convoluted, so overly confusing that, like, in the fact that you're going to take over a year, like a year to over a year break in between parts, it's like, why should I care about this anymore?
Yeah.
So for me, this was the big overrated, most disappointing season by far.
Yep, and as many of you who have listened know, I'm not the biggest fan of Attack on Titan. I enjoy the first season. Second season fell off originally. Frank got me back into it, being like, it's really good. So I was like, all right. Third season was fun, I would say. And then the fourth season's been such a letdown. Again, it is one of those shows where I really do want to see the ending. I want it to be good because I have invested time in it, and I know it can be good. Like, watching the first season, I thought it was one of the best anime I had ever watched. I could not wait for the second season. Second season was a slow chug that was a bit boring at times, and I was like, I just can't do it. Third season was really interesting, new elements, new characters, new backstory. That was great. And then fourth season, they just kept throwing weird, different new shit in it. And I'm like, man, you're 4 seasons in. I shouldn't have to learn about new people and new conflicts and like nothing. Just show me the Titans. Like, get to that part. That's your bread and butter. I don't care about these war factions that are going on left and right. But my biggest gripe about the season 4 part 2 is that it was led up to be the final season. This is the end. Everything's going to conclude. We're going to get to it. And Frank and I have not read the source material for this. Okay, we have friends that have, so they're kind of like,
And from what I've told, there's literally 8 chapters left.
Yeah,
which is like, there's not a lot.
There's not much left.
That's less than a volume.
They're also a little bit on edge about how everything's going to end, but that's for them to worry about. Frank and I are only anime. My biggest issue was by the 5th, 6th episode, we both looked at each other and went, "This shit's not ending. There's no way."
They're going to go down the Demon Slayer route and release a movie for the ending. And then they didn't even do that.
No, they were like, whole new season. But you could, if you're an anime only watcher or anime only person, and by the halfway through the season, you're going, oh no, there's going to be another season. There's no way this shit's wrapping up. That's poor pacing. I don't need to watch them go out and have a campfire and eat around, like eat food in the woods for the 3rd time. Okay. I saw them eat pie in the city. That was whatever.
That's pretty neat.
I don't need to watch them go on a camping trip. Okay, I don't need to watch them go and spend a whole episode and a half formulating a plan and then not even executing it well. Like there was so much just stretching throughout the season, elongating scenes, making things feel like it's meaningful and there's a purpose to it when there really isn't. That it just became so frustrating
Yep.
that you just at this point I'm like, just end it. Please just end it. I don't care if it's good, I don't care if it's bad, just end it because it has to finish.
It's like they say in that one rejected cartoon video from YouTube, for the love of God and all that is good, my anus is bleeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Like
end
just
the fucking misery, please, at this point. The season 4 has tainted almost all of this show for me. It
and it's
really sucks. Like, I love season 3 is one of my favorite seasons of TV, period. And season 4 has just been horrible for me.
yeah. Yeah.
And you know, there you can say, "Oh, but this and that." It's like, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's how you feel about it. This is how we feel about it. And it's not just like, oh, we're discussing it and we're giving, you know, we're feeding into each other's feelings. We literally had the same things to say about it before we even said it.
Yep.
So that is why it is on our most disappointing and overrated show of the year. That is why it was not in our top show of winter 2022. And yes, so, but it does not have the distinct pleasure of being the worst of the worst of the worst show of the year, which your choice surprised me a little bit. Mine is Tomodachi Game. Now, you may be thinking, Tomodachi Game, that was that really awesome death game that everybody was talking about that said was really good. False. There's no fucking dying whatsoever about this game. This fucking show
Only thing
is
that
a
died
literal.
was my soul when I watched it.
It is, the show is literally the epitome of sunk cost fallacy. I was so in on this show of how bad it was that I couldn't look away. It was one train wreck after another nuclear bomb, after another fucking just, I don't even know what other tragedy, fucking whale hunting. Like, it was so fucking bad. The pacing was awful. The characters were awful. I didn't care about a single fucking one of them. This show was absolute dog doo doo. And there are a lot of people out there that are like, oh my God, this show was great. I, please, by all means, I don't want to yuck your yum. Tell me something great about it and I will refute it. I don't want to refute it. I just don't understand how this show is good because it really is not a good show. This show was absolute dog doo doo from the writing, the characters, everything about it was just terrible, and it gets my blood boiling every time I think about it.
And you
Like,
know it's
it
going to
is.
get a second season.
It's. Oh, I know.
There's
I
so
know.
much source material. There's going to be a
I'm not.
second
I'm not
and
gonna
probably
watch
a
it. I'm not gonna
third,
watch it. I'm not
maybe
gonna
even a
watch it. I'm not gonna
fourth.
watch it. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it. Like, this show. It's a death game. There's no fucking deaths. The only stakes are, oh, you're gonna be in debt more. Good for you. Oh, you're in debt. Oh, your daddy
Yeah.
hates you. Cool.
My one piece of my
Yeah.
one little
Anywho.
piece on this is that like I suggested one thing and I'm like, oh shit, that actually would make it infinitely better. And I don't like, again, I'm not a writer, I'm not a creator of any kind, but if I can come up with an idea and be like, huh, yeah, and then share it with people and then be like, huh, yeah, that'd be good, you know, there's something wrong with the show. Or like
Fundamentally.
someone, yeah, like someone who just goes, instead of it being kids and just randomly like, oh, we lost our money for our school field trip, have it be like, no, your parents fucked you over, your dad's hell like knee deep in the yakuza and just like like flooded with debt, your mom ran off and spent all of your life savings to go find a dude in America. Like, that's why you're here. Not, oh, someone stole our field trip money and now we're in
And somebody
this
signed us
death.
all up for this death game where we will just be
Ooh.
more in debt if we lose.
Yeah, as a teenager, and I'm like,
It
yeah, again, debt is different in most other countries than America. In America, like everyone and everything is in debt. Like my fucking couch is probably in debt. But like,
classic.
it was not good. Mine, on the other hand,
Yep.
is The Devil is a Part-Timer because, good God, was that shit painful. Not only was the animation one of the worst I've ever seen, like there were so many scenes where I was watching it, paused, rewound, slowed down, and paused, and saw a number, so many just animation, just faults, like eyes shooting off in different areas, mouths all contorted, faces just fucked up. Like everything about this show was gross to watch, like look at. Not to mention the fact that it's been what 7 years or something since the first season came out of Bell as a Part-Timer, which the first season fun, lots of fun, wonderful. Go give it a watch. Second season, don't touch with a 10-foot pole. The unfortunate thing though is that they're making a third season now too, and it's a continuation, and it's just going to be.
Just cross our fingers. It's better.
Yeah. It's just it's. I'm going to use Bleach as an analogy here because I think Bleach is doing the best job out of any anime in a long time that's been doing it, because the time period between the last episode of Bleach from the original arc, like the original series, and then now the Thousand Year Blood War arc is a number of years. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a pretty good amount of years. What they're doing in this season is they're tying in all the new stuff they're introducing to the old things. They're showing clips. They're like making you be like, yeah, refresh your memory. You remember this happening? You're like, oh yeah, I do remember that happening. You're like, oh shit, I forgot about this person. They're doing a great job, and it's not being shoved down your throat, and it's not done in like a really callous way either. It is thoughtful and meaningful, and it has a purpose to the Thousand Year Blood War arc as well. Like they do a really good job of seamlessly working in all of those, like, here, remember into
Simba,
the story.
remember.
Yeah. It's basically Devil as a Part-Timer is just like, hey, here's all this new shit and these new people, and you don't know what the fuck's happening. Boy,
now
oh
take
boy.
care of a baby.
Yeah, it's honestly like the first season never happened. Like I was so disappointed at how awful this season was, and I just I don't know. I don't have anything else to say other than I pray to the Almighty gods, goddesses, whatever above, below, and around us to just please make season 3 somewhat watchable, bearable. Like just anything better than this would be perfect.
Fair enough.
Just please.
Fair enough. Let's move on to something a little bit slightly more tolerable.
Yay.
Most anticipated show of 2023. This could be announced, unannounced. Well, hopefully announced by this point. I mean, fall is still probably a mystery. Summer is a bit of a mystery, but winter and spring is like that's happening.
Right.
God, I have so many honorable mentions, but
yeah, there's too many to list.
I know, but my number one show that I'm most looking forward to is Jobless Reincarnation Season 2.
Yep.
Hands down, I am looking forward to that. I'm mostly caught up. I think for what's out scan-wise in English for the manga, not light novel, I know there's a lot more for the light novel. For what's out for the scans in English, I'm pretty much caught up. I might be in a chapter or 2 behind. I know what's going to happen for part of Season 2, and it's phenomenal. It's a much slower pace. It's a much slower show, but they really work on the characters in Season 2, and I cannot wait to see all that happen. And they deal with a subject matter that's rarely dealt with in anime. Nothing that I've seen so far. Yeah. But yeah, that I'm very much so looking forward to Jobless Reincarnation Season 2. My one honorable mention, if I had to give one, Oshinoko. I've talked up this manga a lot. It's the same writer as Kaguya-sama, Akasaka. Oshinoko has been a delight to read. It's very fucking weird at the beginning, but once it gets past that, like, once you get into the story, you're like, yes, this is great. I understand why this is a good show. Let's go for the ride. It's a much more serious show, but it is a very good one. So that would be my honorable mention.
Yeah, mine has to be Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I'm a weirdo too, and I have not read all the way through it yet. So I'm going into this blind, but I thought Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 was superb. It was one of the best in terms of action. I love the characters. I love the overall like storyline too. I thought the villains were a lot of fun as well. I cannot wait for Season 2. I think that's going to be a blast. I know a lot of people are dreading it, my wife included, because they've read it and they know what's upcoming. So I'm just going in like a happy little lamb, not a care in the world, and just going to enjoy myself. My honorable mention, basically just frolicking in the field while everyone's just screaming, "Don't go that way!"
Turn back! It's all fire.
I'm gonna give 2 honorable mentions though, because I've read these at least. One would be Kubo's Won't Let Me Be Invisible. I think that's gonna be wonderful. I love the manga.
That starts on the 10th, which is a week from today.
Yep, and I cannot wait because it's gonna be great. The other one, probably less known, but I think it's gonna be fantastic as well, is The Dangers in My Heart. Again, one of those weird slice of life. A little bit more weird because the main character basically wants to like kill at the beginning the love interest. But as the title suggests, there's a danger in his heart, and it evolves into something great. So cannot wait to see that out. And I highly suggest go reading those as well.
I thought for sure you were gonna say Galaxy Next Door, because
that's one I have not started reading that one. That one's on my to-do
I've
list.
read it. It's a delight. It's that's one of those. It's that would be my other honorable mention is a Galaxy Next Door. It comes out in spring, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's a delight in the sense that My Dress Up Darling was a delight. It's very wholesome. It's not unlike My Dress Up Darling. It's not very lewd at all. It's just a very wholesome, non-drama slice of life that really works on its characters and the world it's living in. I absolutely think it's going to be a delight of a slice of life coming out this year. But
a lot of good slice of life coming out, that's for sure.
But that's neither here nor there. What has happened in the past, though, is our anime of the year. Ooh. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first? We are already over time, so we may as well just draw this out.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna go first because I think yours is the right pick, but mine is the pick that I just went with, like my gut pick.
Yeah.
And my gut pick is Chainsaw Man. Again, we both read it. We both knew what was gonna happen. It was just,
and we both
enjoyed. Was so. Oh yes, thoroughly. It was just one of those things where you could not imagine how well it was going to be translated onto the screen. Like, for any of you who have read Chainsaw Man or Tatsuki Fujimoto's other works, you know he has a very interesting and unique art style. It's very detailed.
Personality.
Yeah, personality. It's very detailed. Like it's interesting in the sense that it's not what you'd characterize as like being traditional manga style art. It's incredibly unique, and you would think it'd be kind of hard to translate over into the anime. Wrong. They did it in an immaculate fashion. Huge props to Mappa for all the work that they put into this, because the characters had everything from their voice to their personality to even like how they dressed and walked. It was so akin to how it was like reading the manga. Because as you read a manga, you kind of make up all your different like voices for the characters, and you kind of make up you kind of build their personalities as you read and learn more about them. And seeing it translated into the anime and almost being, at least for me personally, like a 1-to-1, I was like, oh my gosh, they captured it exactly how I interpret it, like reading it. You know, that goes to the Mappa team and their work with, like, them working with Tatsuki as well to create this masterpiece. I thought animation, pacing, storyline, music, even like, you know, all the different endings. The opening itself is just everyone's making TikToks and Instagram reels left and right, copying the different things from the intro. Like, everything about this was incredible, top to bottom. And the way that they, again, for the manga readers out there, the way that they left off the final episode was such it wasn't even a tease so much as it was just like the like sign of, oh fuck.
It's like,
right?
Oh no.
Right.
I can't do this.
Yes. This is not spoiling anything for all of you who have not read the manga, so do not worry. I will definitely not do that. I have spoken loud out on social media because people were ruining the show like after the first episode for manga readers.
I had a friend that's like was on TikTok, and they just saw every fucking panel of a character's death, and they're like, why? And I was like, was this included? And they're like, yeah. I was like, was this included? They're like, yeah. I was like, was this included? They're like, yes. It was literally everything. I was like, oh fuck, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I'm literally so sorry.
Those people should be tried for their world crimes, like crimes against humanity. Like it's awful. So I will never, ever, ever do that to any of you. I will say though that the how the entire first season of Chainsaw Man played out was exactly how I wanted it to, which is you have your action, you have your characters, you're starting to build on everything, you're starting to develop the Devil Hunter agency, all the different relationships between the characters, and there's this weird sense of false hope at the very end because there was a lot of things that happened throughout the first season, right? And you're like, oh, good, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Thank God, it's ending happy. But even if you're just watching the anime, there you have this really kind of tingling sensation in the back of your head, like something feels off. And as a manga reader, you know something feels off.
So, if you've listened to this podcast, you know, but if you have not, when before Spy Family Part 2 came out, I said one word that I was looking forward to in Part 2, and that was tennis. And now you know.
Yeah, now you know it's tennis.
There is a word, there is a singular word that I want to say about season 2 of Chainsaw Man.
Can I guess what it is?
Oh, I know you know what it is. Say
I
it.
don't think so. I'm gonna say something weird that I think I know you'll understand it, but I don't think this is gonna be your word. But I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. I'm gonna say tongue.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Mine?
But you know what I mean, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Mm.
word that I am looking for, that I will say, it will not ruin anything, it will not spoil anything. The word is Halloween.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for part 2. I think that, so at the beginning, or not in the beginning, legit midway through this season, I was like, you know what? Come Crunchyroll Awards, I know Chainsaw Man will be the quote unquote best show of the year, because honestly, the story wise, it is great. What they set up for part 2 or season 2 was absolutely amazing. They set a foundation. They just took the animation to an above and beyond level. The music in it from the openings and endings were fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This was bar none an incredible show. But for me, anime of the year was Bocchi the Rock. I was so happily surprised and so fucking giddy about this show week to week. While I knew what I was going to get with Chainsaw Man, and I absolutely enjoyed the ever-living shit out of Chainsaw Man, and I do still agree with the sentiment that Chainsaw Man is the best show of the year, my absolute favorite show, though, was Bocchi the Rock. For all the reasons that I said before, from the music, the character development, the character personalities, the character interactions, the world that they're in, everything about it was amazing. All the fucking interactions that Bocchi has in her mind with herself, I've done to myself personally. Just like I come out as a character. I am literally very much like I very much no, I'm trying to think of the word and I can't think of the word. I can see myself a lot as the character Kita. Kita is a very outgoing person, but they struggle internally with social anxiety. They don't show it. They have a very good coping mechanism with it, and they are very much a people pleaser. They want to make sure that they are doing all that they can to make sure that the people around them are happy with them. I am very much so like that. This show is just something that you can latch onto. There is a character, there is a moment, there is a thing. There's something about the show that you can latch onto, whether it be like just all of that. To me, it was all of that, but I think the defining moment came, I think, episode 7. I'm going to look it up real quick because it is really like that
I'm wondering, trying to rack my brain what scene or thing you're referring to.
I've told you about the scene. I showed you the scene even though you hadn't seen it. It was literally 2 seconds long. It is 2 seconds long from episode 8. It is they are mid-concert with like during a typhoon with maybe 7 people in the whole concert venue. And there are 2 girls that are just there front and center, just nodding their head as they are playing their song. I have been that goddamn fucking person, and I felt so seen during that scene. I was just like, holy shit. they've nailed it, not just from the music aspect, not just from the social aspect, not from the personality aspect. They nailed it with just the fucking throwaway characters too. Being at a concert, loving the music that you love, and just bobbing your goddamn head to the beat, just enjoying where you're at. This show was something so fucking magical. I don't know why it worked. It just fucking did. And I it's been in my brain ever since episode 1. There's not been a day that has gone by that I have not thought about the show. I've rewatched the show probably close to 3 times at this point. This show is something fucking magical. I absolutely love it. I implore you to go watch it if you have not seen it. Go, for the love of God, watch it. For some reason, if you're really deep into the anime community and you're really deep into anime, you know what my anime list is. You know that it is very, very difficult to get a 9.0 or above on my anime list. As of, let's see here. Let's see if it's still there. As of yesterday, it was at a 9.0, and it is still sitting at a 9.0, which is the ranked number 13 of all the anime and all the anime movies that are out there. There's a reason why this show is so good. Just, I implore you to watch it if you have not watched it. There's something in there that you will enjoy. I guarantee it. And if you don't, you're fucking
yell at Frank online. Oh,
yes, yell at me online. Sure. But that's it for our show today. That's it for our awards. We will be back next year with more awards. However, we will be back next week with a brand new episode. If you want to keep the fun going, head over to our Twitter where you can find all our social media links, including a link to our Discord. But until next time, Spark Triumph. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.